Hi everybody, this is a super quick video to show you how to take through Design Space this new SVG to cut a very simple small box to hold just an 11-ounce mug on its own. I think the 10-ounce mugs would probably fit quite well as well. Okay, so there it is on my canvas. I've just brought it in from the library. As usual, the first job you've got to do if you import any SVG which has multiple parts and score lines is you need to convert to score lines those lines that automatically come in as scores. And with my SVGs, they always live in this first group here in the layers panel. The name of that group is the second line down in your layers panel. So you just click on the name of the group and it selects everything in it. Then go over to your operations menu. Click where it says basic cut and go down to score, and you can see that those lines get converted now. And while they're all still selected, go back over to your layers panel and click on ungroup at the top. If you're working on the mobile app, these commands like the operations menu and ungroup and everything, they're going to be in different places, but they're usually fairly easy to spot in those rows along the bottom. Okay, the second step is to select the group underneath, which contains all the coloured cut pieces, and all we need to do there is ungroup. And the third and final step is to select everything on screen and ungroup once more. Now you can do that either by just dragging a box around them, or use this select all button in the menu bar, or just click on that final group in the layers panel and that selects everything as well. Once everything's selected, do that third ungroup. So 3 ungroups, ideally in that order: score lines, cut pieces, the whole SVG. And that way everything just stays in a nice order in your layers panel and nothing goes to the back and you can see everything. The next step is to attach the score lines to each individual piece of the SVG that they relate to. A lot of people, when they're fairly new to multi-part SVGs with scores, is they make the mistake of selecting the whole SVG and attaching it. But if you do that, you'll get a message from Design Space that your project is too big and it can't be cut. You've just got to select individual pieces, and I think the quickest way to do that is to click on Canvas somewhere near a shape, drag a box to enclose just that one shape and its score lines, and click Attach. And you need to do that for each individual piece of the SVG that has score lines. And it's these 3 in this case. That's the front and the side, that's the back and the other side, that's the little insert that holds your mug in place, and that's the acetate for the window. So no scores on that final piece. Okay, so let's just make a note before we go to make it. Which is longest? Yeah, this is the longest piece. It's 29.38 centimetres. Now, a sheet of 12 by 12 card is 30.5 centimetres, so 293, 305. You would have 12 millimetres to play with there, which is quite a lot, really. I'm mentioning this because when we go to make it, it's going to tell you that they won't fit on 12 by 12. We're not going to be able to select 12 by 12 from the list. So what you're going to do is, just so they split up onto 2 separate mats, you're going to choose A3 for the front and back pieces. This little piece here, obviously it's just a tiny scrap. You'll just choose A4 and position your scrap on your standard mat wherever it's going to cut. So these are now on 2 separate mats. We'll talk about that in a minute. And this is the acetate again. That's just a tiny little piece. You might even have a scrap you can cut that from. Or obviously if you're making more than one box, you'll maybe cut, I think you get 4 out of a sheet of A4. Right, let's just go back to these. So as we've said, we can't choose 12 by 12 card, even though I absolutely know that this does cut from 12 by 12 because that's what I made mine from. So all you're going to do is you're going to say, if you don't, let me just think how to say this. If you've got an older machine, like an Explorer 2 and a Maker, you can put 12 by 12 on a standard mat and just send that through, even though you're telling the machine you're cutting it on the long mat with A3. That's what I do with mine often when I'm just squeezing shapes onto a mat. But I think with the Maker 3 and the Explorer 3, it checks the mat that you're using. So you would, unfortunately, need the long mat for this project, even though you can cut it from 12 by 12. Um, but in any way, all you'll do is when you put your paper on your mat, if you are using 12 by 12, is you're just going to drop it from that very first guideline at the top of your mat. Just drop it down a couple of millimeters. As I say, it does fit within the size of a 12 by 12 anyway, but just to make sure you're making full use of that cutting margin, just drop your card down a tiny little bit, 2 millimeters or so away from the very top edge, and it will cut no problem. If you're cutting it from, I mean, what could we have done? Yeah, I mean, if you're lucky enough to be able to get 12-inch by 24-inch card, you can cut both pieces from one one sheet of that. But I've certainly never used that. So generally, you'd choose tabloid or A3, and you would just send it through on the long mat. And again, if you've got 12 by 12, you can just make it fit. I feel like I've burbled on a bit there. I hope that's made sense. So that's it. It's pretty simple, really. I'm going to click cancel because I'm not going to send it. If you've got any questions after after this video that probably went on about 3 minutes longer than it needed to, don't hesitate to get in touch. The links for Etsy and Facebook are in the description below. And if you've just stumbled across this video and you'd like to buy the SVG, the link to do that is also in the description. Thanks a lot. Bye.